Hello and welcome to Uganda at Crossroads. My name is David Luburwa. We are live from our Campfire TV studios here in Massachusetts, and I want to welcome you and thank you again for always watching our programs on Campfire TV. Like I said, or like we've always said, every week has its own things. Though they are always related to politics, we always keep that side. So we always discuss about the political main stories that make headlines in the country of Uganda. That's why we call it Uganda at Crossroads. Now, last week we were here, we discussed about the corruption scandals that have taken place in Uganda, and that actually some are still taking place. And we remember last week President Museveni led a number of Ugandans in the work against corruption. Now, different people had different views about it. Some said, yes, the president is beginning to act, and others are saying, no, the president is just pretending, while others are saying this is wastage of public funds. Now, these are the things that happened last week. The Speaker of Parliament says another thing, the President says another thing. But there was one most important part that I'm going to start with today before I welcome in my guests, Sarajoy, Bakanansa, and then he said, I want to start with this. The President in his statement said, I have never stolen anything, but I am not a poor man. The President was right in his statement that he has never stolen anything. But let's look at facts. Do you remember when the First Lady, who happens to be the wife to the President of the Republic of Uganda, wrote a book in his autobiography? Now, this is page 68 in her book, My Life's Journey. This is what she said. When my father died in 1995, Amos Kaguta sent his son, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, to deliver a chance of milk to our family as condolences. Yoweri sat somewhere in the bush, drank the milk, poured away the leftovers before he returned home to tell lies that he had delivered the milk to our grieving family. Now, this was a president. This statement is on record. They cannot erase it from the book today. The president said, I have never stolen anything. But even when his wife's family was grieving, he stole the milk. Now, that's upon you to judge whether the president was right that he has never stolen anything, or actually he lied to the Ugandan people. Now, guys, I want to thank you for joining me today on Uganda at Crossroads. You know, it was a very interesting week. We had a lot of stories happening here and there. We had Bobby Wine in South Africa. We had President Museveni over corruption. We had all these big stories. And I'm glad, one, Dennis is a politician. He's going to stand as a member of parliament. Sarajoy, you were a political analyst. You're a politician by blood. You are everything. So, guys, I want to thank you for joining me. Let me start with the lady today. Sarah, how was your week?
Our week was amazing. I think you can say I'm rocking the people power beret. I rarely rock the beret, but it should be something to tell you that I had an amazing week and I feel good and I'm good. If
you were in Uganda, that would be illegal. So let me bring in Dennis. Dennis, how was your week?
Thank you. Good evening, good morning, depending on where you are. My week has been good this time at least, and it has been better in Uganda because the corrupt were gathered all together, and it was nice seeing them trying to exchange words against themselves. So that made it really good for me.
That made it really good for you. Now, yeah. I want to start again from my opening statement. I said the president told the public. It was watched everywhere. Ugandans watched the president saying that he has never stolen anything. He's not a thief. The wife in her book, she said, my husband stole milk that was meant to be brought to our family when we were grieving over the death of our family member. Now, let me bring it to you guys. Let me start with Sarajoy as a lady. You represent here Janet Kataha for this case. You say to Dennis that he stole the milk that was meant to be brought to your family. Now, did the president lie that he has never stolen anything, according to you?
President Museveni has been a petty thief. He only progressed. Because if you read Janet's book from...
my Life's Journey.
Exactly. stealing milk is something so petty to steal. He has been a petty thief who has just progressed into a certified thief who has mastered stealing with his cronies and everyone around him, because you cannot exclaim and take yourself out of the equation and say you're not a thief when you're protecting those who are stealing on a daily basis. Because if we go through how much has been stolen and the way he recycles people that are stealing, then he's a thief as well. Because you cannot tell me, look at, there are so many cases that have come up. Look at the case of Mwezi, who was involved into the stealing of Gavi funds. What did he do after that? Mwezi was reappointed again. Look at Mike Mukola. He's been reappointing them. You know, the cases are grave. Look at, if we go back to the most recent things, the money that came in from Germany that was printed, the 90 billion. Where is that money? That money was taken over by the anti-corruption unit that is headed by Madame Nakalema. We do not have any clue of where that money went. There has never been a press conference coming out to say, okay, the 90 billion that was confiscated, these are the people who are involved in stealing it or in printing it. These are people who wanted to take it, and this is where the money is. Museveni himself, because you cannot be a mother and say, I'm not a thief, but my son is a thief, but whatever he steals, he brings home and you consume. If I find you, if I find my mother in the neighbor's clothes, and my mother clearly knows that's a neighbor's cloth, then my mother is a thief as well. So Museveni has been a thief for a long time, and he started off as a petty thief, stealing milk that was given. I can imagine being given milk to take as mataba. It's so saddening that at his age, by then he could steal milk. So he started off as a petty thief. He has progressed to a certified international thief. And that's where we are. He's as corrupt as everyone is implicating, or he assumes he's corrupt.
All right, he's as corrupt as everyone is assuming now. Dennis, I want to bring you in. Last week before the walk, we discussed about this political corruption scandals and all this. But this time there was a difference, that we had some political leaders in the country of Uganda, the Right Honorable Deputy Speaker of Parliament, coming up to say, hey, you know what? We are all corrupt. The president says, no, we are not all corrupt. We are fighting against these people. Now, to you, first of all, I want to just get your judgment. Was the work against corruption authentic?
I think the president of this country, of Uganda, should be a little serious compared to what he is trying to do. Working for corruption would have been a gesture if he was one of the guys, or one among his guys, fighting corruption like with an iron hand. I want to give you an example of our neighbors in Nairobi. A day ago, they arrested a governor of Nairobi called Mike Sonko over corruption allegation just of 350,000 million Kenya shillings. Okay, that I guess is not so much big according to how Nairobi is situated. So in Nairobi, they don't care which position you hold. They are trying to fight this corruption from the head to the bottom, so that by the time they go to a petty thief down there who steals probably a cup of milk, they would be already aware that I'm not going to escape, because they started with the big guys. So if Museveni really wants to show us that he's trying to fight corruption, apart from walking, let him first, retire the whole ministry. Take them to court or imprison them for a period of years. Or if not, let's try to get what they have stolen back. You cannot be staying with a thief in the same house and you go outside trying to claim you're fighting corruption. Within yourself, you have your brothers, you have your uncles, you have your aunties who are involved in this kind of corruption, and they have been implicated and nothing has been done. They have been brought to book, but they have not paid for what they have stolen or anything recovered. You have Salim Saleh with the scandal of Soroti, Mbale Soroti Road.
Yeah.
You saw how that road was constructed. It was constructed very poorly with meager kind of materials that are not supposed to be used in construction of the roads. We have some Kutesa and the NHAS, the Entebbe International Airport. That's a government. That's supposed to be for Uganda, but it is now for an individual, whose individual comes from your family. That's conflict of interest. It's not really allowed. There are so many companies within Kampala that are owned by this first family, and they don't want us to talk. So this kind of impunity is not wanted. I believe it's wrong for him even to walk. Or he should have taken a ride to somewhere. Or ran, you know.
Yeah. But the president is the president is fighting against. Let me give you a certain number. Between 2000 and 2015, Uganda lost over 25.4 trillion Ugandan shillings in scandals, the Temangalo scandals, Global Fund in 2006, NADS 2009, Umeme subsidy fee 2009. All this money. Now the president is coming out to say enough is enough.
But you don't walk. This is where the president is getting it wrong. Walking towards, you know, the anti-corruption walk is as useless. You do not walk. If President Museveni wants to highlight, just like if, you know, if we started off fighting HIV by walking against it, I guess we wouldn't have gotten anywhere. We started off fighting HIV by sensitizing Ugandans to know exactly what is HIV, how do you get it, how do you safeguard yourself against HIV. You know, you do not just walk. You don't walk towards ending corruption. You act. Museveni, what he needs to do, and I wonder who came up, let me hope it wasn't Balaam, because at this point, Museveni himself, I don't think he reasons anymore. There are all these guys who want to milk money and get money, because I can imagine, I can assume that that simple walk and, you know, gathering in a Kololo, they must have spent millions and millions of taxpayers' money just for people to gather and get together for a stupid, you know, something that shouldn't even be happening. You do not work. If Museveni wants to show Ugandans really he is into fighting corruption, he should start implicating. We should see the people who are involved in corruption being taken to court, and let the judiciary work. Let's see them being put in jail. Let us confiscate all their properties, everything they've stolen from Ugandans. Let us be able to recover the money from the things they've stolen. Let us sell their houses. Let us sell their cars. Let us sell their properties and recover this money.
Sorry, before you go on, let me cut you short. The president was very clear. He said, and I'll quote, "I know the thieves, but I'm still waiting for evidence."
What evidence? You know the thieves. Okay, let's start from the 3 billion for the Luburwa hospital. As we speak, the Speaker of Parliament wants to start up an inquiry to investigate, because that money disappeared in thin air. That was taxpayers' money. So what evidence is he looking for? Because, you know, it has come to a stage where President Museveni is taking Ugandans for granted, or maybe thinks the kind of Ugandans that are living right now are the ones he had in the 80s who did not read. Because when you look at before and now, the levels of education have really improved. People are not stupid. People are more exposed. People have knowledge. So you cannot sit back and behave and say, oh, you're looking for evidence. Why don't you start with what you have? But you have for example, it was very clear money, the Gavi fund disappeared. That was money meant for providing ARVs to people living with HIV. Do you know how many people in Uganda who cannot access ARVs, yet they're HIV positive? Yeah. So let's start from there. What happened to Muhwezi? When Mukula and Muhwezi were taken to Luzira prison, they went with mattresses. They had their own mattresses. They went with fridges. They had SC. They went with their funds in Luzira. How long did they stay there? For a short period of time, 1 or 2 weeks, you know, it was for a show off, and then they're out. But what happened to the money? Did they bring back the money that was stolen? No. So President Museveni...
Did they serve the punishment?
They didn't. They did not. Because the most important thing should be for us to recover the money. If Museveni took an extra mile for us to recover the money from people who steal it, people wouldn't be stealing right now. Because if someone has stolen, let's say 1 billion, look for all their properties. It doesn't take rocket science to get all their properties. Sell them. Sell all their properties and recover the money. Don't, if that happens to 1 or 2 people, you would be scared of stealing. So, because your properties are going to be confiscated, and you know something is going to be done.
I want to bring in Dennis. Sarah says that property of these individuals should be taken away from them. Does the Constitution provide for that people's property should be taken for granted?
Yes. In our 1995 Constitution, there is an article that gives you clear description that if someone has been alleged to have stolen something or embezzled, and he's proven guilty of the offense, his property is supposed to be sold off, or whatever he has acquired through embezzlement is supposed to be sold off, which we have not seen in this country ever since time immemorial. Ever since Museveni came into power, giving us false hope, up to now we are still living on false hope. So many people have embezzled a lot from this government, and they have not recovered even a coin. Talk about the Gavi funds. Yes, Mukola was taken into prison just, you know.
For a week or two.
Yeah, how do you take someone for a week or two in prison?
Yes.
Serve the prison term, let us sell
went
off
with
your
a
property.
mattress, he
Have
had
you
an
visited
AC.
his home? He stays like he's in heaven. I visited that myself in Bugolobi. My friend, you can't imagine what people are enjoying on earth. And that is the money that should have helped someone who died of HIV some time back and is still dying of HIV.
And I'm very
tomorrow.
sure Mukula himself has members
You know.
of his family that are HIV positive. Even if it's not the immediate family, relative, long,
very
you know,
unfortunate.
distant relatives who are HIV positive. But if you do not even think about some other person or some other Ugandan, then President Museveni is taking Ugandans for a ride. But if I may add on, you see, President Museveni is, you know, you're not going to fight. First of all, he has failed to do anything tangible to implicate people who are corrupt. Look at the trend of people Museveni is surrounding himself with. All the Bafede, all the conmen in Kampala, all the young men who are involved in you know, they wake up in the morning and they're throwing money around. You cannot even know the source of their money. The likes of Brian White, the likes of Sipapa. These are the people Museveni is surrounding himself around. And I keep asking myself, do we have laws that work in Uganda? Because these are people, you see them having statues of money in their cars. Someone parades maybe $100,000 and more. You cannot do that in the US. You cannot.
This
You
parliamentary
cannot
committee-
do that in the US. The FBI will be at your doorstep. So I'm asking, even, you see, you want to fight all these things, but you're surrounding yourself with Bafere, who we know very well, either they've been involved in. For example, we saw President Museveni with Sipapa. But if you see 2 years ago, Sipapa was among the thieves that were breaking into houses of diplomats in Kololo. And he was gotten from Kololo, taken to prison. He ran away from Lagos Hospital. When he was being beaten, he was beaten, taken to Lagos Hospital. He ran away from the hospital. So he's known. He's one of the guys who break into people's houses, you know, diplomats' houses in Kampala.
But let's
look at Brian White. Look at the situation of Brian White. Brian White comes up with money this is money that came from, you know, it was a gold deal. That money they got from scamming people over gold deals, providing them gold. These are people surrounding the president. And Museveni loves these kind of people because, you know, they come up, go to the public, throw around money here and there, and they confuse Uganda. So even look at the people he surrounds him. What are you going to fight?
Now, let me ask you a question.
When he's comfortable with everything going on wrong.
Let me ask you a question. You blame President Museveni over all these cases. But what is the opposition doing to, one, open up cases against these individuals that nobody knows where their sources of income are? Two, what is the opposition doing to bring these ministers to the book? Because they've stolen money and the opposition is doing nothing. Remember the Kosasa event?
You see, if you come with the members, the private members bill in parliament, first of all, remember that opposition do not have a good number of representation in parliament.
But they
always
say,
yes, you can come with a private members bill, but it's not going to be approved. Remember, everything is NRM in parliament. First of all, the quality of the members of parliament that we are receiving these days is poor. They just go there because the bus brought them in.
Yeah.
They do not have anything so good to learn or even to give to the people. They go to parliament just to sit at the back bench. They do not legislate. Their work is to wait for the time to...
Allowances.
Yes, allowances, and go and, you know, if there's any bill to be passed in favor of the government, they will be there to pass the bill. But in reality, even if they are heading a committee, because most of them are chosen to head these committees, and you know, to head a committee, you have to be bright upstairs. You have to be able to read. You have to be able to analyze. Then after analysis, you see how to put your effort. They are not there. They are just there to represent the president. And whatever the president says, that is what they go with. So the committees alone in parliament, even if anything is presented before them, it doesn't work. They are dead. You understand? And secondly, I think something has to be done. If we are to fight this kind of corruption, let me take you guys back. We need to be serious by starting like what they call like a whole Ugandan information,
desk.
Yeah, information desk, where everyone goes there to present their challenge. If it is about the president, if the president needs to be impeached, we should start something like how it is working in America here. Start the process and we see how it goes. No one has come up with something related to that. Probably the president would wake up and say, I think Ugandans are this time serious. They want to impeach me because of A, B, C, D. The president probably could have been better, but because he's surrounded by the people that commit these acts, there is no way it can be better.
You are a member of Forum for Democratic Change, if I may be correct.
Yeah.
Kantuntu is also a member of Forum for Democratic Change, if I may be correct.
I can't confirm that now.
Let's assume then, when he was the chairman of the Kosasa Committee, he was given a task to find out all issues that related to the Bank of Uganda.
90% was not worked on within his term. Of all the files that were presented.
But before he left, he left a report over how money was spent and all that. He did not take anybody to courts of law. He was a chairman and he's from opposition. Yes. How are you blaming the government that is not doing its job yet?
You see, once you enter parliament and you are corrupted by this government, there's no way you can be productive. First of all, he was already corrupted. His mind was already lost. You know, when you join the NRM wing, it's like when you go there, they remove your brain, then they cover your head with the paper so that you no longer function. Katuntu is a very bright gentleman. He's an accountant, he's a lawyer, I guess. So once he started thinking about money, the whole thing went astray. That is why he could no longer deliberate on the 90% of the files that were presented before him, because he ate already what was, he ate money.
No,
once
but
money, things change.
Even, okay, let's say with the little bit Kantuntu did, I think when cases go through a committee and recommendations are made and said, and they say so and so they stole money, they need to be taken to court, the IGG needs to takes up that case because it's not parliament then. The IGG now has to pick interest in those cases to see that she goes ahead maybe to go into prosecution and all that. The IGG has not done anything. But again, look at, as much as I feel sorry for all these committees, especially whether they're led by opposition or led by NRM people in parliament, you cannot touch people the president is protecting. Because everything that goes wrong, all these people that are stealing are protected by the president. And when you look at the judiciary, how does it work? Basically what Museveni wants. You've seen even the judges at the High Court. They rule according to what the president wants. Because you've seen, let's go back to the 2016 elections, when that was Mbabazi took went to court about the presidential elections. You saw the president met the 5 judges who sit at the Supreme Court. Why were they meeting the president? Are they serving the president?
But he's the president of the country.
He's not supposed to be. They're supposed to be non-partisan. They are supposed to be non-partisan. They're not supposed to, even if it's, I'm telling you, in America here, can Trump meet the judges to swing their decision?
But you opposite. I never wanted to go to that case, but just a little bit of information. You failed to present evidence that President Museveni lost the elections. You did not provide the evidence. That's what the judges.
We were not given the opportunity to provide the evidence.
Even if we don't go to the 2016 election, let's go back to the previous election before 2016. All evidence showed that there was massive rigging. What did the court say?
Supposed to be nullified.
What did the court say? They looked like, okay, as much as there was rigging, it does not, sum up to nullifying the results. So they did not, even going to court. That's why in 2021, if you really Ugandans want, because if Ugandans don't come out and vote in massive numbers to overturn, because the only thing that is going to save the 2021 vote is Ugandans voting in massive numbers. People need to come out.
In support of President Museveni.
No, right? You need to come out and vote against President Museveni. 80%, for example, if you vote massively and you have a vote going to the opposition of 80% of the vote casted, you cannot rig such a vote. It's completely difficult. But if Ugandans sit home and reluctantly think that heaven, God is going to send manna from heaven for things to change, Museveni is going to rig again because he's good at that and he's been doing it for years. And again, Ugandans are going to be in the same misery. But even if you say, either if he rigs, the other option would be Ugandans uprising and forcing the chain to come, or if you think you're going to take the chance of going to court,
but let me summarize that topic with this, with a question to both of you guys. Now, if the president doesn't act, you say the president is doing nothing against corruption. This week on Wednesday, President Museveni came out and clearly laid a number of people. That is a sign that the president is determined to overcome corruption. And you guys in opposition are still saying that this was wastage of time. What do you want the president to do?
How many ministers did you see there walking?
Did you hear the statement from Olanya?
He said they are all corrupt.
So things are hard.
The thing you must understand, what we are asking President Museveni, because as much as Ugandans have gone through the traumas of 34 years of President Museveni, not all Ugandans are stupid. We want Museveni to take action. Museveni standing, so, you know, walking around Kampala on a walking stick because he can himself walk by himself, and you know, causing commotion in Kampala and causing traffic jam and taking pictures, and then ending up in Kololo, and people are given food, and they were promised transport. They had to collect kids from all the villages and people from the villages because they have to give them money. It does not make sense. That's not what we need. We want Museveni to take action. There is an anti-corruption unit in State House. What have they done? It was put up by President Museveni. And it is the same anti-corruption court that was able to, it was able to get information of the 90 billion that was coming into the country illegally. What have they done? Ever since that money was confiscated and taken over by the anti-corruption unity that is led by Nakalema,
right.
What has Nakalema done? Have you had any press conference coming up? Have they explained where that money went? Have they told us what they're going to do with the money? Nothing has happened. That's what happened. Things happen in the country, and you know, they just disappear just like that. Ugandans stop talking about them, and we go back to the normal.
With me, what I want, what I'm asking my my illegitimate president, of course, because I still can't believe, because if he had given basically a chance to present his case to court, probably the case would have been nullified. President Museveni wouldn't be there. But what I'm asking him is, all these top guys in government that have been mentioned in regards to corruption, I'm requesting him, let him tell those people to step down. He has the powers, of course. Let him enforce the stepping down for all these people that have been mentioned into corruptive deals. Then thereafter, investigations can start when they are home, so that they don't interfere with the investigations.
Yeah.
You know, Otafire is there supporting them all the time. I don't know who elected him, who even nominated him to become the Minister of Justice. Some things are really laughable in this country. So I am asking him to stay firm. Let him stand tall, so that we are able to say something to our children that in 2019 the president did this, or 2020 the president did all this in regards to corruption. Walking alone won't help us. Olanya has come out, and I guess he's going to be, you know, taught a lesson a little bit about the words he said. He was very serious, saying all of them are corrupt, and indeed they are corrupt. In that team that visited the airstrip, I swear almost 3/4 were corrupt. And all the
not just 3/4, all of them were corrupt.
Almost the big people were there.
But
if the thunder had come at that time, by this time we
no one would have survived. The only people who would have survived were those who were collected from the villages and promised 50,000. And I don't blame Ugandans like that, because you know, it's 50,000 in Uganda comes hard to get. But if you see all the corruption cases, at the end of the day, they zero down to President Museveni. Everything zeroes down to him. It can start with Gavi Fund, it can start with Mukula, it comes down to his door. Someone in his house or someone in his office is involved. So at the end of the day, just like I said, when you look at who is holding the mantle to corruption, it is President Museveni. In fact, I put up a post and said, President Museveni walked against himself. He's the master of corruption. He walked against himself. And I don't think after 34 years, he thinks he still has the guts of fooling every Ugandan.
So guys,
he walked against himself, and it is not helping, and it is really absurd, because for us at this point in time, we are looking at how much money was spent, how much of the taxpayers' money was wasted over something. Because if Museveni wants to do something, let him start implicating the people who are involved in corruption scandals.
All right, so I want to take you to the LGBT and the homosexuality deal, or that is based on the statement from Honorable Robert Chagulanyi when he was asked a question. But before I get there, I just want to remind our viewers that recently the Speaker of Parliament of Uganda sent a letter to President Museveni urging him to find out what happened with the money, the 24 billion Ugandan shillings that were supposed to build Isimba Bridge, that were lost. And the president up to today hasn't responded. So corruption in Uganda is just daily food, but it depends on how you take it. My take is the president did a great job by going on the streets to fight against corruption, but at the same time I also have another take as a person to say maybe it wasn't the right time for the president to do the same thing. But you have an opinion. My opinion doesn't say anything. Your opinion counts. So guys, I want to bring you back to Honorable Robert Chagulanyi. Was in South Africa on a South African major media company or network, SABC. And SABC. And when he was asked about the homosexuality thing, he talked about tolerance and acceptance. Now, I want to bring in a statement from some of the supporters in opposition to find out what exactly how people received his message, and then you let me know whether it was right or wrong. But that's what happened. Now, Babida Leila, who happens to be a very strong supporter of for People Power as a movement, and of course she's an LGBT activist, came up with a post. And I'm looking for my post. I had saved it somewhere. I'll start with this. We exist and we shall exist, and we will exist in all generations. LGBT community needs respect and not tolerance, period. That's why we are in the struggle to have a better Uganda. Now, when Honorable Wine was asked, he responded by tolerance and respect. Now, Sarah, I want to bring you in over the same case. I don't want you to give me, probably you could give me where your stand is, but
no, I went,
what's your view
by the way,
on
that post, I went so hard on Leila, because I think what happened is, I am one person who believes in all human rights should be respected, no matter whether you concur with what someone believes in or not. People should be respected for who they are. And Honorable Bobby Wine was very clear. He said all human rights should be respected. And then when the father went on and asked him, he said, I think we can be able to tolerate each other. I think Leila's submission came from the fact that he never, either he misheard or she ran away with what she wanted to run away with at that point in time. She misunderstood the Honorable, because she said, I think at some point she wrote, she said, we need acceptance. And I said, when you look at where Bobby Wine is coming from. Bobby Wine is coming from a place where he was even banned from entering UK because of the messages he had put out against the LGBTQ community. He was banned from the UK. And Bobby Wine, that's when he was still a musician. And then when he got involved deeply into activism and politics and social activism and being a human rights activist, he has learned. People learn every day. He has learned to understand that all human rights should be respected, no matter who they are. Because also the people who are disabled have their rights, the LGBT community has their own rights. And he was very clear, he said, all human rights should be respected. And when he says all human rights, it cuts across every right, whether you're LGBTQ, whether you're lame, whether you're disabled, whether you're what, it cuts across. So, and again, from what Leila mentioned, Leila talked of acceptance. And we must understand, as someone, I advocate for all rights, and I believe people should be given the freedom to be who they are. But coming from a place where you come from and our African culture, we must, at least for Bobby Wine, I'll give him kudos for at least taking a step. We are not going, he's at least moving towards the right direction. He's at least learning and understanding that people have rights. As much as you don't believe in them, you let them be. He was very clear. And one of the things I put up and I said, unless, for me, I think the biggest issue I had with some of the people who were against Bobby Wine, the major issue was they did not, because there are three words that were used. He used the word respect and tolerance in his statement when he was on SABC. And some of the posts I saw on social media from the LGBT activists, he said, oh, we need acceptance. And I said, and I was very clear, and I said, respect is the mother of tolerance. You cannot get respect. You cannot be, acceptance comes, it is far-fetched. Acceptance, yes, you want to be accepted, but at least let's fight for respect. Fight for people to respect you for who you are. Because I can accept you, but I may refuse to respect you. And I think as human beings, we strive more for respect. Respect me. I may accept you for who you are. And I say, okay, that is David, and that is who he is. But I may never respect you. So I think it was where Kyagulanyi started from. He's very clear, and that is the right step to take. Give people the respect they deserve. And in most cases, if you cannot, if the worst comes to the worst, you must be able to tolerate people and say, you know what, I may not believe in who you are. I may not like what you do, but we can live in the same space, breathe the same oxygen. I think that's a good start. Depending, and I'm comparing that to where he was 3 or 4 years ago, before he started being actively into human rights activism and understanding exactly how do you encompass everyone, even if you don't believe in whatever they do or who they are. So I think my issue, and I went on with Leila for a bit, and I said, one thing we must understand, let's give him the, the plus for even taking that step. Because some people don't say, and I'll be, just like I said, I'm a human rights activist, and I accept everyone. I believe everyone should be accepted for who they are. When it comes to LGBT community, right, we must accept and understand, even in the United States where we live, where human rights are being respected to the maximum, there's still,
challenges.
There's still challenges. There's still segregation. There's still people being denied their own rights. You find those pieces here and there. So, and going back to Uganda, where there are cultural issues, where people still have issues. I know so many people who are LGBT who will never come out. Who will never come out because of the cultural issues, or because of them refusing, they don't want society to judge them, or they do not want to go through that back and forth with family and all that, but they are happy with who they are, or they're even in relationships, but they will never disclose them, they will never put them on the front. But they're happy in their relationships, but yes, they've allowed to suffer with the fact that they will always remain in the closet, they'll never come out. So we should, I think, for that, because I saw again, that post, I saw the LGBT activists also coming on to Bobi Wine, he should have said acceptancy, and for me, I believe in what he said at that point in time, we should also at least give him kudos for where he was 5 years ago and where he has reached right now. We cannot take away. And then the other thing is, I saw on the other side also people from the NRM attacking him and saying, Bobi Wine now is going to bring homosexuality in Uganda. People must understand, when Bobi Wine is now, he's no longer Bobi Wine. Bobi Wine, if you look at every achievement or how he has been recognized, he's being recognized as a human rights activist. At one point in time, whether you like it or not, you're going to accept people for who they are. And Bobi Wine is a millennial. He comes from this generation where, I'm telling you, all these questions are going to pop up, and either you have to be either tolerant to what people believe in or who they are, or you're going to face it, it's going to be rough on your side, because it is more of a more liberal generation where people are more into, people understand who they are, people know who they are, and so we must give him the fact that he has moved from where he was to coming to a place where he feels like all human rights should be respected. And let's not criticize him, and let's not make him jump 100 steps. Let me add on one thing. And one of the things I emphasized, I got a chance, I started behavior change. Behavior change. If we look at Bobi Wine as someone who was completely ignorant about the LGBT rights, he has moved. He's at a place where he's past even contemplation. He's now at a place where he believes people should be respected for who they are, as much as you can't take them in, or as much as you feel they're too much for you, at least be able to tolerate them. Let's give him he's able to get to that stage.
The reason I brought up actually this topic is because of the controversies that have been surrounding it over this past week, since he made a statement and since the question was raised. So what is your take on this development?
I think LGBTIQ is kind of a global thing. And it's a global question that is asked to any politician that is vying for a top office.
Yeah.
And it also needs a global knowledge to answer such a question. I also want to say, I replied to Leila's post as well. And I told her to at least re-listen to what Honorable Kyagulanyi said, because I think she had not heard him so well. So I told her to re-listen to the clip. But Kyagulanyi said he respects them and tolerates them.
Exactly.
You may not support what someone does, but human rights cuts across. You can't tolerate or respect them just for purposes of that, though you may not agree with it. And in the case of Uganda, even discussing it is so tight. You have to be knowledgeable so that you don't speak things that will tie you later on, or the country, or the world at large. So you have to have learned a lot. We need to read about this. We need to understand it before you go into the platform to discuss it so well. So what I'm saying literally is, I think Kyagulanyi responded knowing that of course there will be discussions later. in regards to that. And he will still be asked more in the same line. And
knowing where he stands, where he was 5 years ago when it comes to the LGBTQ community.
As we keep going forward, he will still be answering many and many and many. And even Museveni himself will be asked the same question. If he allows to be interviewed by an international TV station or TV channel radio, they will ask him. Only that sometimes he dodges because he doesn't want to answer it directly. And the reason why they are bringing this back into Parliament is to either trick the opposition from answering a certain question so that we lose relationship with the international community. And we are also getting stronger and brighter that they want to trick us. So we have also developed our own way of answering the questions right. So in that I give kudos.
Because I was going to give you that example that very soon it's going to be brought back in Parliament based on our sources. But so I was wondering where you guys in the opposition are standing.
We have our answers ready, and we are learning day by day, as Sarah said. It's a global thing, and we have to have global understanding and knowledge to accept, to answer it, and we shall answer it rightly when the right time comes. Let them make a mistake and bring it. We shall challenge them.
All right, so I want to thank you for that statement, for your views, because I was looking at who are the right people to break this down. Everyone has been giving their opinion. There are those who believe in this community. There are those who do not believe in it at all. But there are either side are potential voters to either candidate, be it the NRM candidate or the opposition candidate. So I had to bring it up to find out what is really going on in this.
And if I could add a simple submission, I think partly people misinterpreted because Bobby misinterpreted, because the misinterpretation I got also from social media was like, oh, Bobby Wine said he supports. Respect and tolerance are completely different from support. People should understand that. Because I don't know, because either someone has to answer these questions in Uganda, of which if you start answering questions that are complex like that in Uganda, you may make further mistakes. But support is different from respect and tolerance.
All right, so I want to get you back to, I want to take you off that line and bring you back to the now another Ugandan political stronghold. You come from FDC.
Yes.
You support, I believe you support you also FDC, People Power,
yes.
FDC. I don't know NRM too, but I thank you for that. The most important part is your party, the leadership of your party, came up with the People's Government. It's very inclusive. It involves other opposition leaders from different political parties.
Yes.
And the People's Government was meant, I believe, to counter-argue activities done by the NRM government.
Yes.
Now the question is, since its establishment, have you seen any progress? Do they have a national office that, do they have, the ministers, are they really acting as per what they're supposed to be doing, since it's a government on its own, and we believe they're supposed to be serving at least their supporters? Do you believe the People's Government is doing its job as a government? We
are doing our best. Our office is located at Katonga Road. That is where we converge every time we have a meeting or we have a discussion or we have a press conference. It's located at Katonga Road. It's headed by my leader, Dr. Chiza Besigye. And its main formation was basically, is basically to fight the NRM counter activities that come and challenge us. Like if you watch the FDC weekly press briefings, we try to analyze what has happened in the past week vis-a-vis the development and growth of our country. So the People's Government has its own hierarchy of the leaders, and we sit down and discuss some of this. And in effect, we find out that in case we take power tomorrow, this is what is going to happen going forward day by day. Unfortunately, some of the things that we plan to do, like probably go and give a relief food, like let's say Bududa, if we happen to have trucks or loads or tons of food that we need to take there, they will be curtailed. They will either ban them, they will hijack the trucks, beat us, and we cannot deliver anything. Of course, this is a junta government.
But that's what you guys always say in your opposition. That's what you always say.
But
we have always seen your general assemblies sitting and having
discussions. Do you know how they sit?
As compared to other, now the new People Power movement, they are not actually allowed to sit anywhere. Like you guys in the
we are the same. We are all suffering the same fate. There is no day they have allowed us to sit directly. We only sit as an impromptu. It just happens on, of course, the government unaware, and we sit and do our things. Sometimes they come when we have just finished the meeting, because it was an impromptu meeting. We didn't declare it, because should we declare, they curtail it. They don't even approve you to go and sit. Bobby Wine told you that in Uganda now, they don't allow 5 people to sit and discuss about the future of their country. But they can allow thousands of people to sit, converge, and drink, get drunk, do stupid things, and that marks their end of day. They can even sleep till tomorrow morning. But start discussing the issues about the country. Start discussing about the education. Start discussing about insecurity. Start discussing about the rule of our country. You're in trouble. They'll arrest you. They'll beat you. If you're unlucky, you will be dead. We've seen so many other people dead. And that is why we have brought in this document of signing the ICC. We want to try other ways that are possible. And if other members in the opposition can help us sign this, like you saw the Omara Tubos who were in government before, they had enjoyed, they had had fun, but now they are seeing that things have changed, or things have already changed, things are bad. Let's support the opposition. Let's sign this ICC document. You never know. Fatou Bensouda can accept us, because several documents have been signed, but they were not accepted. You know, for you to present your case to ICC, you have to be a government agency. But unfortunately, we are not a government agency. We are like an individual or a group that happens to be an opposition player. So they may or may not. But we have also collected a lot of evidences, both still and graphical information that we'll present to them. But things are live, and we are having problems day by day, and ICC.
The question is,
so the people's government is working.
How is it? Because yeah, that's the thing. What is people's government doing in terms of education? What is people's government doing in terms of infrastructure? What is it doing to see or to even impress Ugandans to support their cause?
We cannot be doing education unless we go and demonstrate to show the government that education is not doing well, the quality of education is poor. But we are not allowed to demonstrate. We are not a sitting government.
You a government.
We are not a sitting government. We are the opposition government without powers. The powers is vested into the illegitimate president who is now there. He's the one that can say 50 billion has been released this year for education. We cannot do that. We cannot go construct roads. Have you seen how much we have lost in road constructions, those sham roads? The Entebbe Expressway is one of the most expensive road ever constructed. A kilometer going for a lot of money as compared to all other countries too. So we cannot do that unless we become a real sitting government. Probably if he had not arrested our leader by then, we'd have taken him to court, then probably election nullified, and we go for a rerun and we win. By this time, roads would have been flying. So you know why there are accidents on roads? Because we don't have a divider in the middle.
So somebody can argue that you are illegally existing in the country.
Illegally existing, but we are existing for the purpose of the people.
All right, so sorry, you're
it happened in Kenya as well.
Of people's government, and you know, at least we know people power, they are always everywhere. I don't know what you guys people power also doing, but
people's government, I try to understand the context in which it was formed and its purpose and its role, and I haven't. Because, yes, it is forming a people's government as on paper, and when people sit and converge and talk about it, makes sense. But in terms of if you want them to perform, the field from which they perform from, it is very narrow. Because for a people's government to show its existence and without them sitting and converging and talking about it, they have to demonstrate. But they don't have any room to demonstrate. Yeah, they don't have any room to do do service delivery.
But let me interject, Sarah. You know, the reason I actually came up with this people power thing and all that is because at the beginning of the year, the leader of people's government said, this is the year of action. And I'm glad one of the members here has just mentioned it to me again. Yeah. This is a year of action, and you promise Ugandans that by the end of 2019, President Museveni will not be there. He saw the president yesterday, this week he led a walk against corruption. Are you still standing on the promises you made? And should people trust you?
We may be standing, we may not be standing, but the conditions under which we operate cannot make us fulfill some of the promises we put across. We put these promises well knowing that by this period probably we could have achieved this if this is not curtailed. But you know, this is a junta government. Even if we were optimistic that by 2019 Museveni would be off the chair, all the blame come to us, the people. Because let me tell you, things are not easy in Uganda. Right now, we are all looking at probably Chagulanyi and Besigye as the leaders in this struggle. But we are not putting ourselves. So if we had put a proposal, but by 2019 we shall see Museveni off the chair, and you're leaving it to Besigye alone, how then do you think he's going to manage? He needs a team of the people working together and clandestinely to make sure that Museveni is out of this chair by 2019. Remember, should there be one canister of a tear gas just dropping in front of 1,000 people, within 3 minutes, there is no one remaining. And I am telling you, even come 2021, if any of the opposition leaders is elected into chair, I am not sure if we are going to take it easily with this disunity and the fear that we have. Because everyone in Kampala is taking care of their children. Should they hear a gunshot, you will see how people are going chini. So in that kind of fearness, there is no way we are going to take this government easily unless we start changing our minds. Then secondly, there is something I want to include there. We are going into the 2021 election.
Right, and you're standing as a member of parliament for Alaki district?
Kalaki district.
Kalaki district.
I have come out early from 2016 when I lost. But you find that in so many counties, there is no opposition who has lifted his head and he or she is saying he's going to contest for that position. We are only having the NRMs speaking and the few FDCs that are not many. So tell me that we are going to beat NRM come 2021 if by this time we don't have anyone coming up to show interest or even to deliberate in some of the constituency activities. Because if you don't appear in the constituency, there is no way you're going to win election. You cannot come tomorrow towards the primaries and you think you're going to get it. NRM will take it hands down. They're already spreading money. So I'm asking our opposition leaders and the friends who are willing to take up this position, let's make it happen. Should we fail? If I have time, I would give you the statistics how the east, the north, the west, the central, and northwest is working. You'll find that we do not have people there. People are still quiet. Yes, I know opposition do not have money because contesting requires a lot of money. I'm spending a lot of money day by day. I have to sponsor so many activities. There are barriers coming over. The churches need building. Someone is telling you I need fees. I am not yet in office, but I am spending a lot. Every bit that I work, here I have to spend, you know. So there is a lot of challenge and we are seeing NRM coming into power. They are creating more districts, remember. They are creating more counties. So if they create those districts, you know, there's a woman MP, there's a county representative, you know, there's LC5, there's this or this. All this is for the government. If we don't step up, if we are still fighting each other, that who should take this position, the other takes the other position. By the time it reaches 2021, NRM will have 430 MPs in parliament, opposition will have 126. Tell me you can veto any white paper that comes. You cannot. Right. So we still need to think ahead. Saras should help us and the people who are in the people power. We should go down and get these leaders who are supposed to contest for this position. They are not there. I go to the village and I speak with authority. They are not there, and we have to be there to be able to muzzle the NRM.
Let me finish up with this, guys, in our discussion today, because I know we're running out of time.
Yeah.
But I'm taking you out of that. Let's go a little bit in business. Recently, President Museveni came up and he said that regulatory agencies that take revenues from small business owners should stop. They should be given the opportunity people to do their businesses. And he gave a very strong reason there. And it's very clear, you know, Ugandans were well known for drinking and all that. He said people will use that money to go in bars and buy beer, and then they will be paying taxes. Now, what would be the right statement if you were the one, if you were the president? What would you have said after telling these government agencies that stop taxing small business owners? What would be your next statement? Sarah, I want to start with you just because the president said after they will go in bars, buy a beer, and then they will be in a position to pay taxes through that. So what would be your best statement if you were the president?
Before I answer you that, I'll take you, I think, to the beginning of this year, where protests on social media tax came up, OTT and all that. A certain, I think, a directive came through Parliament, and a certain tax was scrapped off those taxes. It was scrapped off words and that came from the president, that came from Parliament. Was it implemented? Are Ugandans not still paying that tax? Up to this point in time, Ugandans are still paying the mobile money tax. They're still paying there's OTT, and I think there's mobile money. Ugandans are still paying that tax, even when it was passed in Parliament or it was talked about as being scrapped. So I think sometimes President Museveni says a lot of things to please Ugandans, because if you say regulatory organizations should stop taxing
small business owners. The president is trying to do his job in promoting the economy, the small business.
When you look at the economy, where are the biggest taxes coming from? Are they coming from the 0.01% of... because the biggest part of Uganda's economy is made up by the small-scale businesses, the small-scale owners. That's what the president is talking. If he doesn't tax them, where is he going to get the money to steal? Who is going to be paying taxes? Because some of the things, the arguments, he's quick at saying things that will please the people, but practically they do not make sense and they do not work. Because if the largest part of the population is made up of the small-scale businesses or people who are dealing in small businesses, then who is going to pay the taxes? Of course, you need the taxes. And you must know very well that if you know by now, the budget of Uganda is about 3 trillion. If you take away what comes from the donors that they put on, the rest has to come from Ugandans. So if it is him coming out to say things that are pleasing to people without even analyzing and understanding that where if you stop taxing the small-scale businesses, where is the money going to come from? Because if you look at people who belong to, or maybe people who have the big businesses, it does not constitute 1%. So it doesn't, it is easy for him, maybe the small people who operate small-scale business at that point in time clap their hands, but is he going to implement it? It cannot be implemented because it is not practical. It doesn't make sense where the tax is going to come from.
Laurie, yeah, Dennis?
I think we need taxes to grow at whatever cost.
So you're supporting these agencies to tax small business owners just
yes,
as
but
they
there
do
should be a mechanism
there
should be a mechanism as agreed by the business community on the proportions of taxation. Because there is no way we are going to grow as a country if we are not taxed. Because we don't expect the country to get money from anywhere if there is no taxation. The only challenge I have is that the government is giving tax holidays to foreign companies.
Exactly.
Instead of giving the tax holidays to the people within. Because for us, we grow with cash. Uganda is a cash economy, not like other countries. So if you are giving tax holiday or tax exemption totally, others, by the way, don't pay these taxes. They tell them, oh, come and build a factory in Uganda. You're not going to pay taxes. And the factory which is built is just some 2-bedroom doors of something that looks like a factory. Or even if they build a big one, they're totally not going to pay any taxes. Then how do you expect this country to grow? Our budget is 40.1 trillion. And URA collects about 21 trillion. Where do we get the other surplus?
You're going to keep borrowing.
Yes.
Let me
add on something on what he said. Just as he said, and you see the tax holidays they are giving to the foreigners. This is what foreigners have been doing. You're giving tax holiday for 10 years, 5 years. They'll come into the country, collect all the money they can. When the tax holiday period is done, they collect their, they pack up their bags and leave. That's what has been going on in Uganda. So many companies, after the tax holiday, the moment they hit the time when they're supposed to start paying taxes,
then they sign for bankruptcy.
No,
yes.
They
or
leave
they
the
even
country.
leave.
They leave the country. What are you going to do?
They live with the structure.
Yeah, they leave the country, and what have you gained? They've collected all their money. They go and invest somewhere else. So, whoever planned that, they don't think through, because maybe one of the conditions for giving tax holiday for foreigners would be, we're giving you tax holiday for 5 years, but you must operate for another 10 years paying taxes. But if you give them an open, 5 years tax holiday, you've seen most of them have closed shop after 5 years. You've not gained anything, and then they leave and go to another country.
All right, so let me finalize with the president's statement clearly. He said, and I quote, "Someone is selling mangoes, roasting meat, or gonja, and the authorities want to tax them. Let these people earn some money and put in their pockets. I know Ugandans very well." The president is saying, when they earn, they go to a bar and will indirectly pay taxes for the beer they drink. So he's a president who cares about his citizens. He's a president who knows very well his citizens, and he knows that you Ugandans, when you make your small money, you go to bars and start drinking.
What taxes do the mango sellers pay?
Exactly.
This is just being petty. There are other small-scale businesses that are not even touched, and we're not supposed to discuss.
We shouldn't even be discussing about mango sellers.
We shouldn't.
I see.
These are business people.
No, I see the way someone is operating a business of 10,000 shillings,
and
they tax them.
Exactly. They shouldn't even be taxed.
That's what the president is saying.
No,
what do they tax them? They don't tax them.
They don't even.
That's what the president is saying, that we shouldn't tax these people because...
No, they are not taxed in the first place.
First of all, this is what happens. Most of the people you see KCCA is arresting in Kampala, they are being arrested for operating in areas they're not supposed to operate.
Exactly.
Right,
they are supposed to be. They are supposed to be. And what is maybe KCCA has done wrong? KCCA has one of the things it should do for these people who sell mangoes, onions, and all that. Let them find a day. I think they used to do it before. Let's say Sunday is a day where all these people who sell mangoes, tomatoes come up on the street, and they operate maybe between 10 a.m. and 5 p.m. And after that, they should be engaged in cleaning up the city. That's the time you give them to operate, because they're running a business of 10, 20,000. How much tax do you want them to pay? These are extremely poor people who are living with $1. It's common sense. You do not even have to use rocket science.
I think we are coming to a close. I want to say my deepest condolences to the family of late Justice Kanyehamba. He really fought a very good fight. He's going to be remembered for the great things he has done, even though he served in Museveni's government in three different positions. He was critical about it. Yes, he was very critical. He worked with the opposition under so many challenges. He was also, I think, tear-gassed one day. So may you rest in peace till we meet again, and my deepest regard to the family. You will stay strong. Yeah, thank you. So
sorry, guys, we're closing on anticorruption. Talk about
I've just been watching on social media. I saw what happened in South Africa. Ugandans, you know, it's good. You see, Ugandans in the diaspora, I know President was supposed to be in South Africa. He wasn't able to go there. He sent Naduli and Bebekul. And you see, they think also they can use money in Uganda and also lure people outside, you know, outside Uganda with money. But Ugandans, you know exactly what to do, because you do not, you see what happens in South Africa. You know how Ugandans, xenophobia in South Africa is huge, where foreigners, you know, black foreigners are being killed. So Ugandans in South Africa are living on their toes, watching their front and back. So it is good mwebere demo. And you should continue. You should not allow this foolery to come to you, because Uganda, as much as xenophobia has been happening, you see what is funny and what I must address. Xenophobia has been happening in South Africa. There is no time the Uganda government or even the President Museveni has ever come out, because we have so many Ugandans, over maybe 20, 30,000 and more living in South Africa. The president of Uganda or the government of Uganda has never come out to stand with the people in South Africa, because they should have put up a statement, because some of these people who are killed are Ugandans. And South Africans are fighting any other foreigners who are blacks, who are not South Africans.
Right.
So at the end of the day, it is if President Museveni, when South Africans are killing you, if he cannot stand with you, there is no reason why you should allow him to come to South Africa and start fooling year round. And you're in South Africa is not the best country for you to live in and do cheyu.
Right.
Most of them, ask them what they're doing there. They're either buffere or they're witch doctors.
So I wanted to finish up on as you're closing on now. I wanted to close on the issue of corruption. What's your take? Do you think the government should continue with this kind of new trend, or something else has to be done?
Which trend?
Of working against corruption? I
think President Museveni should not waste any. In fact, at that moment when he was working, as don't we God, you know, I'm like, what, as God forsaken Uganda, before God used to send plagues when we read the Bible, and I'm like, thunder is no longer thunder, God that no longer sends, you know, I'm like, this guy should get a heart attack and end up in hospital, or maybe, because why is he working? President Museveni, for 34 years, he knows what he's supposed to. I'm telling you, if I brought here a fresh kid and properly explained to him, fresh kid knows exactly what to do. If I told fresh kid, if a man has stolen, do you walk and protest against him, or do you put him to jail? Fresh kid would properly tell me that man should be in jail, and if the money he has stolen is there, let's get it back.
All right, so
President Museveni cannot understand the simple logic that when people are involved in corruption, you do not walk against yourself what you do, you implicate them and collect back what they've stolen from Ugandans. It's simple common sense. It doesn't need rocket science.
It's unfortunate that this government won't end corruption, because corruption is orchestrated by themselves. So we are only optimistic that if another government comes into play, maybe that is when we shall start investigating those that have been named into these corruption scandals and selling off their properties. If there is no law, or if there is a weak law in regards, and I am one of the members in the next coming parliament, I will make sure that we rework on that law and ensure that it is stronger enough to work against these people who have perpetrated challenges in our country, because a lot of money is going into corruptive activities, which are not monitored. But Museveni is not going to end any corruption.
All right, so I want to thank you guys for your arguments, and you, the viewers, I want to thank you so much for always watching Campfire TV and Ugandan Crossroads, of course, all other programs we do present here. Now, I read a statement before, as we were closing the show, when the president said that someone is selling mangoes, roasting meat or gonja, and the authorities want to tax them. Let these people earn some money and put in their pockets. Then the president continued to say, I know Ugandans very well. When they earn, they go to a bar and indirectly pay taxes. Now, if I was the president, this is my closing take. If I was the president, I would conclude that statement by saying this will motivate them to work more so that in the future they can grow their businesses big and pay larger taxes. If I was the president, but because I'm not the president, he had to say that. Guys, I want to thank you so much for watching Ugandan Crossroads. We'll be here next Saturday. Coming up next is Love, Sex and Money. See you next week. Please remember, as I've already said, when you're rich, they will never make silly decisions against you. If you're poor, they will always take you for granted. Have a good week.